Hey Aquarius, what's going on? We are here with a timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is Six of Cups. And Page of Pentacles. Okay, the notion that I'm getting from this, the way that the Six of Cups is coming up, it's feeling like when you're daydreaming or you having a flashback or some type of memory to something. I feel like it's something that you're experiencing that isn't happening. Like the memory of it is happening in the present moment, or the memories of it are happening in the present moment. But as far as the actual event, I feel like you're sort of like conjuring this up, or it's sort of coming to you and you're remembering this. It feels like a recalling that's happening. And what I'm seeing is that it's in some way going to be helpful with something that you currently have going on. Like it feels like this thing that's popping up. I feel it on like an astral level or like an imaginative level, but you're not making it up. It's a recalling that's happening. This thing that's being recalled, whether you like did it on purpose or it just feels like you're going about your day and this thing sort of pops up or is happening in your sleep. This thing that's happening, it's offering you help now with something. It's going to help you, it's going to assist you with something currently. So even though it's not an event that's happening now, something about this thing that's being conjured up will help you with something that you do have going on now. It feels like it's kind of offering you something that's going to be helpful. Helpful with what? I'm not sure yet. We're going to see what else comes out. But that's definitely what I'm getting from this. It's like giving you a piece of something, or like maybe a piece of advice. But I feel like it's going to help you in a tangible way with something that can be feeling difficult now. Nine of Wands. See how this is a circle and this person is carrying that circle, and see how there's that like energy around it. It's like there's the initial circle, there's that energy around it. Here's a circle, you see this energy around it. I kind of feel like this is going from being like an astral or just something that you're perceiving that's not physical, that's not tangible, that then is becoming something physical and tangible that you can use, or it's somehow dropping in, it's somehow materializing in a way that can be helpful, or whatever this is bringing up for you can be used in a tangible way that's helpful. It's like coming through to help you out, whatever this is. And it feels like I'm seeing this be you. And so I feel like this is sort of taking shape like this and saying, here, this will help you. And it's with something that you're doing right now that it's difficult, whatever this is that you're doing. You're like climbing a mountain over here. And you're working on something. You've been working on what this is. And this, see how this person, it feels like here, this is going to help. That's how I'm seeing this be. I mean, for some of you, this can also be somebody from your past that's coming through, and they're going to be helping you with something that you currently have going on. It feels like this would be appreciated, this happening. Because if you're doing something and you're welcoming energies that would be assisting you, then I would imagine you'd feel accepting of this. Knight of Cups, Queen of Wands, Eight of Cups. Seeing Ten of Swords, Two of Pentacles, Nine of Swords. Wow. Let's actually move this over here. Okay. So what is it that you currently are doing here? This thing that you're trying to work with over here. A lot of your energy goes into this. A lot of energetic exchange for you to accomplish what this is. This feels kind of like a roundabout way that we're getting closer to Nine of Cups, not Nine of Cups, Knight of Cups. Feels like this sitting and being with your feelings prior to making a move, because the Knight of Cups in this card appears stationary, but it's actually like, even though the Knight of Cups may be the one that's stationary, the stuff over here, like the water over here, it's still moving. So maybe there's something that's been stationary but is then going to move when it's time for that to happen. Having Queen of Wands be connected with this, I feel like the archetype of the Queen of Wands is going to be helpful. There's stuff going on emotionally that's going to be coming up. It feels like being very present to what you are experiencing is going to be helpful. And I think putting pieces together that are connected with your past, like maybe some type of pattern recognition that's happening and why certain things are coming up, or you're remembering or recalling, or you drop your journal and it opens up to a certain page and you just happen to read it and it's from like however long ago. Can be little things like that, that there are these reminders, something of that nature, and it feels like it's going to clue you in to something that's going on presently that maybe needs to be recognized, like these pieces that need to sort of come together. So that's what's happening on the more feeling side of things. Then having the Queen of Wands here, archetypally, the Queen of Wands is when you are really tuned into yourself, really tuned into how you're feeling, how you want to be expressing yourself, what you want to be experiencing, what you feel attracted to as far as experiences, versus what may feel like it sort of dwindles your life force, dwindles down upon your life force. And having the Eight of Cups here, this is going to be about making a move where you can connect with something on a deeper level. I think to the point where you feel like what you just on your own, like you are enough. Because Queen of Wands, if you're not yet in that energy, it can be you. We don't always have to be miserable. Like, sure, sometimes we can be miserable in a situation and not want to stay in it. But also, to having the Eight of Cups, I feel like this also gives context to what's going on. Maybe you're within something and it doesn't feel right for you to be within. Maybe you're within something and you don't feel so connected to it. Maybe you're within something and you almost feel like it's kind of finished or kind of done, but a move hasn't been being made. And this can be something where, as much as you keep trying to sort of plug into it or connect with it, you're not really getting that charge from it. And so you can start feeling your, I think like enthusiasm and your spark also dwindling because of that. And Knight of Cups is ultimately going to lead to making a move based off of what you're feeling. And then having the Queen of Cups here feels like confidently expressing yourself and your choice. Your choice to connect with something on a deeper level, and I think not settle, because I kind of feel like a compromising is happening. And this can be a situation that you're in now, but if you look back, this can be a pattern that you have experienced that is going to inform you as to what's going on here and maybe give you the right like answers or wisdom as far as what you want to do about this. Like it can be telling you the moves to make. Now coming down to the second part of this, we have Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords is about stuff closing out. Stuff that can feel difficult. Having Six of Cups above it, there can be like this really deep nostalgia that you feel for something, but that's how it was and not how it is now. And there can be an attachment to how it was, even though that's not how it is now. And also too, you being in a place where I feel kind of like there's a bit of a new-ish endeavor that you have been doing, but you can also feel like taking certain things that aren't happening now and basing choices that are being made off of something that's not being experienced now. It was being experienced, but having a hard time sort of being present to what the present experience is. That can be making this a little bit more challenging. Because you can also feel like if the past memory of something is comforting, presently it may less so be. And simultaneously you can feel like you are somewhat settling here within a given situation. There can be if I close this out and if I really allow myself to move forward in the way that I feel is actually right for me to be doing, that is terrifying to me. That can be kind of the feeling, or that's like the last thing that I want to be doing, or this is like too much for me to be asking of myself, because you perceive this as leaving something comforting. But I'm not seeing it as being something comforting presently. It feels like your nostalgic connection to it is the comforting thing, but that's not even presently what the situation is. That's the feeling that I get from this. So meaning, and like nothing happens in a vacuum, right? So this is just another perspective, but I know in the grand scheme of things, like you don't, unless you're like totally fully present, this isn't generally how we see things, because we see things now in the context of what it was before and like all of that stuff. But if you could just look at this situation for what it is presently, I think that your feelings about this and the like value that it holds would be very different than if you were seeing it attached to everything that it's attached to, especially in a sentimental way, even though presently that's not how the situation is. But this can be something that you haven't fully come to terms with yet. Having Six of Cups and Ten of Swords can be like, I still don't want to let go of this because of what it was for me at that time. And even though I'm not there anymore, even though that's not the experience here anymore, there can still be like this hasn't fully been released yet. And because this hasn't fully been released yet, you can feel like it's not, like you're kind of like frozen in time a little bit here. It feels kind of like a transient in between space that you're in. And you can be trying to sort out what your priorities are here. And one thing can feel easier to fall back into, and the other thing can be more difficult to forge the way and forge the path. I feel like you're in this in between, and there's the past behind you that you can feel is just more readily comforting, or there is the path forward, which it feels like you've been working on it, but it also feels like there's no give yet. It feels like you're still going up and didn't like reach that peak and can come down on the other side. Feels like still forging, like whatever it is that you're trying to break through hasn't given yet. And then I think it's easier to be persuaded by the past and just sort of fall back into that. But I wonder too, if you look back on things, I wonder if there have been other situations where when you reflected, or when you were writing in your journal, or when you were texting your friends about the situation you were in, the type of way that you were feeling about things, and how maybe uneasy you felt with what was happening, or how maybe distraught you felt with what was happening, or how maybe uncomfortable, or how maybe against your soul it felt like to sort of keep yourself within something. Like, even if we're not totally consciously registering it, it can be something that we look back on that time in our lives and be like, how could I not see it? Like, this was my experience, that was my experience, but I wasn't sort of seeing the whole, like what that added up to. It's like when there's a diagnosis, just looking at symptoms but not realizing that all of those things are attributed to a diagnosis, like seeing all the symptoms but not knowing like the deeper context for what that diagnosis would be. And it feels like in looking back you can realize what was going on, and you can say, oh, that was that, but I didn't see the pattern with the symptoms, and so I didn't put it together and realize it all fell under the umbrella of something. And I feel like now maybe you're in a similar situation to what you've experienced in the past, that this can be a moment of pattern recognition where you see something that's going on that I think would inevitably lead to you transitioning in some way here. Like, Eight of Cups is feeling like there's something that you are seeking. And just also too, having Eight of Cups, this can very much be a accepting where our needs are met and what's compatible with our needs, especially on an internal level, and what's not presently. It's kind of like an automatic feeder for the soul, okay? And so there's a bunch of food, and every day at 12 the food comes out, and you got to the point where the whole container, like all of the food ran out in it. And so like every day at 12, like no more food comes out anymore, but still sort of remaining within that. But then feeling like there is a lack of, I think, nourishment, a lack of connection. It can be a lack of feeling. And even though you can look at that and say, like, I loved when that would provide me with something, you can feel too, like right now, something else is going on. And it's different than what was happening before. But there can be a part of you that's having a really difficult time accepting what it is presently because of that not being preferable. So it feels like some resistance to accepting what it is now, which also feels like it's making it maybe a bit more challenging to do something about it, because if there's that resistance to naming something, then we don't like really have to deal with it yet. And there can be a little bit of that going on here. Also, when it comes to what you want to be building and what you want as far as solid structures within your life that you can lean on, is that being prioritized? What you are investing in? And is it stuff that you do want to be investing in? Like, those are the things that you want to be building. I feel too like there's kind of a mix of energy, because Six of Cups and Ten of Swords has both a sweetness and then also a feeling of that being broken in some way. Like, it kind of reminds me of a Neptunian experience when we almost like put something on a pedestal, or it's like very, very ideal, and then it all sort of comes crashing down in a way, or like inevitably something changes. And then the like devastation that we can feel within that, like of I was getting what I need and stuff was so good in that moment, and then something shifted and then that wasn't the case anymore as things change, and then figuring out like what to do then, what to do with this. But there can also be I think, resistance to fully feeling the shift that has happened. There can even be a need to focus on the things that feel most intimidating, the things that you feel most worried about, the stuff that can be the most difficult things to address. I think more so on a mental level than anything. Because I feel even too like you're in these situations, and I'm seeing this vision of a lighter that doesn't have any lighter fluid, and so even though like the potential for that spark is there, it just feels like the actual fire isn't like lit. Like, it's not, the fire isn't happening. The potential for that spark is there, but it's like the fluid that would be needed to ignite and stay lit. It's like something about that not being there. And you can kind of know this within you, you can kind of feel this within you, and at the same time you can just like not want to, because I'm seeing like Knight of Cups wants to, like there's something stirring within, but I almost get like a stationary energy, because this Knight of Cups like isn't moving, like the actual Knight of Cups isn't moving. It's kind of just like sitting there being with all of the feelings. But normally in a deck, the Knight of Cups is like wanting to make a move based off of the way that one is feeling. Like, this is what's going on, I'm gonna take the steps necessary. But then having it lead over here to the Four of Cups, this can be more so like I'm just feel like there's this sort of suspended energy of like I'm feeling this stuff, but then something isn't really happening. I feel like something isn't moving fully. And you can also feel as the energy of the Queen of Wands here, you can also feel kind of despondent a bit. That's the vibe that I get from Queen of Wands and Four of Cups. It feels like a lack of enthusiasm, a lack of passion. But wanting to feel like something comes together here that can feel almost like it's missing. Like over here feeling like there's just emptiness within that, and also too feeling kind of lost, like what do I do then? Like I'm seeing that this is empty, and there's a part of me that's receptive to connecting, but that there's an emptiness there within that, and wanting this where there is that, these are hands and these bowls, feeling like there is an overflowing. I feel too like there's a possibility of you making a move, but Four of Cups feels again and again like not really wanting to. And I think the not wanting to comes from feeling what things were like before, even though it's not happening right now, and that being part of why there is this lack of motivation. It feels like that's what it sort of comes down to. Because if there were a full stop here, if there were a like, no, like this is over, I'm really gonna close this out, it feels then like a move would have to be made, and it can feel just like too much to bear right now. You can feel though that the compromise is that there is that lack of passion, that there is that lack of connection, that there isn't that spark that's staying lit. Then that's the compromise here with this. Because there's always going to be a compromise when choices are being made. So it feels like that's what, by not moving, that's sort of what one is settling for until the move is made. I feel too like this is something that you'd have to take upon yourself to be doing here, to remove yourself from this cycle, to sort of close it out. And when I say this cycle, I mean like sure what's happening presently, yeah, but I feel like in a more like karmic, energetic way of saying this, that this isn't the first time that you've been in a cycle like this. That this is something that has occurred multiple times, and that it's like one of those again. And I wonder too if like you look back, because you're not in those past situations anymore, I wonder if stuff from the past and looking into like what you did and whatnot in those times would be helpful to you now. So it feels like the past informing you of like what's going on now, what you're feeling now, that this is not like a new thing, that you sort of know what this is and you know what this means and what to do about it. And I feel like it will help you process. Because this definitely doesn't have to be something that goes around again and again if you don't want to. I do really feel like the most challenging part is sort of like accepting what's going on within this and how you feel, and also what you would be compromising if you chose not to take action. Like what the implications of that would be. Not to say you should do this or you shouldn't do that. It's more so to know if you make this choice, this is the outcome. If you make that choice, that is the outcome. And then from a place where you feel informed, going from there. but there's a need to sort of look at everything for what it actually is in order to feel like you have informed judgment about things and then do what you want to do from there. Not in a place, again, where you should do like one thing or the other. That's going to be about preference and what you decide. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. Something that can feel, I think the most difficult part of this process can be the fear that is connected with having to transition in some way, having to make a choice, and being like, what would be on the other side of that then? But I feel like, one, we don't even need to think about that at this point. I feel like there needs to be more of a focus on like, what if you just stay within this? What will that look like? And you may look at that and feel like that's the last thing that you want, and that can be motivation enough for you. Because there can definitely be this like fear of the unknown and fear of the, well, like, what if I do this? What's going to happen then? I think that's part of the thing that's discouraging. It's like anxiety that's discouraging, this fear that's discouraging a move being made when you know that you're feeling something within you that I think hasn't fully been recognized totally, but that you're moving into that place. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.